There's a lot of mystery here. My name is Steve Koski, and I'm a research associate at the University of Miami Little Salt Spring Research Facility. The significance of this site is important on multiple levels. It is a window to our first visitors, to our first inhabitants, to the families who first moved to Northport. It supplies a little window to that lifestyle, those human lifeways. And to understand those human lifeways gives us sort of a glimpse into our past and an appreciation for those that have preceded us. The spring is a circular pond about 75 to 80 meters in diameter. It just looks like a pond from the surface, but it's actually a sinkhole or cenote. I believe the first time I saw the site was in 1986, but I didn't dive it at that time. The first dive was in late 1991 or 1992 to remove some of the installations and hazards that were still remaining from the 1970s. So those were my first dives. I never get bored with diving here, just like I never get bored with walking the property, because you never know what you're going to see. Somebody asks me what it's like to be down there, and I say it's like working on the dark side of the moon. It's very rocky, it's muddy, there's no algae, vegetation, and you have to bring your own lights, and you're under an overhang. If you're in the back crevice, you don't know if your bubbles are going to drop a block on your head, because there are giant blocks of limestone and clay on the ledge. It's just a fascinating experience. I have had spooky moments. I guess the most recent visit by the boogeyman was in July of 2008, installing a tarp. So when we were working, our bubbles would cascade up the tarp instead of scrubbing the ceiling above us where a large blocked crack of rock was. And we had 4 divers in a row pulling a tarp. The overhang was probably 2 feet, so you could just enough room for your body and your tank. And the visibility went out, and something whispered in my ear, you know, you could die under here today. And for one split second, I thought, I got to get out of here now. But you gather your wits, and you go ahead. I realized that I was on a task, and if I went, there would probably be either other people that went with me or other people that could help save me. And I didn't want to abandon the mission, and that 10th of the second passed, and the rest of the dive went fine. You just learn to be comfortable, and it's the panic that overwhelms you that will kill you, generally not the conditions that we're in. To maintain your wits is an important factor. Little Salt Spring is currently owned by the University of Miami. It's a 112-acre parcel that was donated to University of Miami from General Development in 1982. And it's a pretty pristine environment and ecosystem, and why we call it an ecological and archaeological preserve. On a day-to-day basis, I could be diving, I could be in the lab processing specimens, I could be out giving a lecture presentation, I could be doing a tour, I could be out mowing the lawn, I could be cutting trails, I could be clearing the creek, I could be doing anything that needs to be done as the sole staff here. We haven't had any adverse impacts that I can think of. The archaeological work that's being done is being conducted with a conservation ethic, and we are protecting the natural resources as well as the cultural resources. This is a paleontological site, an archaeological site, a geological site, a hydrological site, and an ecological site. It deserves to be protected. It's a sacred site, so the past needs to be taken with respect and consideration. The folks were coming here initially because It was a persistent geological feature that they could acquire or procure predictable resources. So it was probably part of a migratory range. It was like the Motel 6 of their range. So where they went from here, where they came from, what social mechanism did they utilize when interacting with other groups? What did they believe in? What did they feel when they were here? How easy was living here? What was their diet like? Those are all things that we can examine through archaeology and through osteology. And those are the intriguing things that this place has to offer. It interests me. It's the preservation. The preservation of saturated sites and wet site archaeology is unsurpassed in any terrestrial site, other than possibly a cave in the southwest. The anaerobic nature of peat in the water, the saturated nature and consistency of the material after deposition is what allows for that phenomenal preservation rate. So you have tissue, you have wood, fabric, you have things that are preserved that otherwise wouldn't be preserved. We have 9,200 radiocarbon-year-old gourd fragments that still have an exterior color. I've seen green beetle wings in the same context, wooden stakes, and there are elements of giant ground sloth and giant tortoise remains, as well as a number of other mammalian remains and reptiles and amphibian bones and things. And we attribute that to demonstrating that it was once a dry cavern. Just the preservation is phenomenal. I come from a group of people who had great interest in underwater archaeology, in early human studies in Florida. So I'm sort of helping to carry that forward. I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I am, to have some influence on what's been done, and being here to observe the phenomena that abound at any given moment. It's certainly an interesting place, and for some unknown reason, it has become my, I don't know, destiny or whatever you can say. I sort of fell into it.